My name is Mayu Kotani. I'm a 14-year-old middle school student. Today, I'd like to tell you about a peculiar incident that happened at my school the other day. I live in an ordinary town that's not too rural and not too urban, the kind of town that you see anywhere. And the school that I go to is an average public middle school that, like my town, you'd see anywhere. And so there's me, living in an average town, going to an average school as an average student. I got decent grades and put in a decent amount of effort as a member of the basketball club. And to top it off, I had a decent number of friends. Not too many, not too few. The people in my class were all unique and different in their own ways, but no one caused any problems. But one day, I heard a rumor that eventually turned out to be true and would eventually completely flip my ordinary life upside down. I heard this from my classmate, Sayori, but... Hey, did you hear the news?
I heard there was going to be a new student soon.
Yeah, I heard. I have no idea what they're like, though. I asked the teachers, but they won't even give me a clue.
I actually might have an idea of who it is.
Really?
You know that big, old-style mansion on 5th Avenue?
Oh yeah, that big old flat, right?
The old grandpa living there died a few months back.
Oh yeah, I remember there being a funeral for him.
And my dad was pretty close with him, so he attended the funeral as well, but apparently the grandpa's son is gonna inherit the house. And I think he lives there with his family now.
Oh, so you're saying that guy's kid is gonna be the new student?
Bingo!
But would a person that lives in a mansion like that come to our school of all places?
But our school's the only public middle school around here.
Yeah, but don't people like that usually go to private schools? And if they take the train, you could definitely go to one of the rich private middle schools around here.
You're right. But the timing lines up too perfectly for it to not be them.
Well, if you actually end up being right, I'm really interested to know what kind of person they're like.
Right? What if she acts like a princess all the time and greets us in French or something?
There's no way someone like that exists in real life. And besides, he might be a boy.
Yes, you're right. But anyway, I'm getting excited just thinking about it.
But if we get our hopes up too high, it's gonna be a bit awkward for the new student. And we're gonna find out sooner or later anyway. And a few days after Shiori and I had this conversation, it was announced that there was indeed going to be a new student in our class. The rumor that the new student might be the kid living in the mansion spread like wildfire, and everyone seemed eager to find out. And the day finally came.
All right, everyone, this is Kamiyo. He's going to be joining our class from today. Nice to meet you guys. My name is Hideo Kamiyo.
He wasn't exactly a prince, but he did give off a bougie vibe. It was obvious that he grew up rich. Since everyone was on the edges of their seats waiting for his arrival, the boys in our class immediately surrounded Kamijio and started asking questions.
Yeah, that's right. I moved into my grandpa's mansion. I like my old place better, though. I lived on the top floor of a high-rise apartment.
He didn't even try hiding the fact that he was rich. And so, everyone was obsessed with rich new kid on the block, and Kamijio himself seemed quite pleased that he was getting all this attention. But during lunch, "Hey, we're having curry for lunch today!"
Yay!
Almost everyone in our class was hyped about the menu for the day, but after we were all sat at our table with our plates,
Huh?
Kamijio looked at the curry in front of him and let out a sneer. Then he suddenly stood up and, "What?" Without even taking a bite, he threw his entire plate into the trash can. It wasn't against the rules to not finish your meal, but this was crossing the line. So our teacher went up to him and asked,
Hey, what's wrong? Do you have an allergy or something? I wasn't told that you had any, but...
This was an obvious question to ask him, but...
Nah, it's just that the food looks so plain and shabby, so I didn't feel like eating it. I can't believe you guys can eat crap like this.
And just like that, he shocked everyone. Everyone went silent for a while, including our teacher. But he didn't seem to care and started reading a book at his seat.
So, what do you think?
That was absolutely ridiculous. I mean,
I sometimes throw away stuff I don't like, but he just threw out the entire plate without even trying it. I could never do something like that.
Right?
And I heard him talking with a few of the other boys during recess, but apparently, the lunch that was served at his old school is leagues better than what we have here. I mean, of course we would never be able to compete with rich private schools, but that's not really an excuse. And why doesn't he just go to a private school then? Why would he choose to come to a public school like here?
Well, I heard this from my mom, but...
Damn, how do you keep on getting this kind of information?
What can I say? I love gossip.
Anyway, what did you hear from your mom?
Well, apparently, Kamajio did apply to a private school, but he screwed up on the exam and he couldn't get in.
Whoa, so he's rich but not smart?
Apparently, he used to go to a private school that lets anyone in if they pay enough.
So he had no choice but to come here, huh?
Yeah, that's right. But I wonder if he can get along with others here.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was in awe at what he did. I, for one, am going to stay away from him. I don't feel like we could be friends.
Me neither. And if he does end up isolating himself, he deserves it.
Yeah, true. But I don't want him to get bullied or anything.
Yeah, that would suck for everyone.
But we would later find out there was no reason for us to worry about him getting bullied. His actions weren't popular among my classmates, but he ended up solving things in a way only rich people like him could possibly do.
Hey, I got bored of playing this, so you can have it. Wait, really? This is the new Switch, right?
He gave his guy friends new games and consoles to befriend them, and...
A friend of mine gave this to me the other day, but I can't finish it on my own. Can you guys help me finish it?
Wait, this chocolate cake! Isn't it super expensive? I've always wanted to try it.
He gave the girls snacks and cakes from expensive brands, and soon enough, almost every one of his classmates were on his side. So, eventually, people stopped caring what he did with his lunch. So even though a few weeks had passed since he first threw his lunch into the trash, he was doing the same thing every day. But the only person he couldn't buy out was our teacher. And so he would tell Kamajio to...
Stop wasting your food like that! Don't you feel bad? There are people that prepared that meal for you.
Kamajio was finally told to come see him in the office, and he was giving a good scolding. But that didn't bother him at all.
But it's not against the rules to throw out my lunch, right? That's not the problem.
He wouldn't budge and kept on throwing away his food.
But you can't possibly call that food. It's not made for humans. I'm sorry, but I can just imagine myself throwing up if I ever put that garbage in my mouth.
And he kept on showing his entitlement and privilege.
Take that back. You have no right to call our lunch garbage. But I was only saying the truth.
And just like that, Kamajio and her teacher had a massive heated argument. But the next day, "Who do you think you are, yelling at my son like that? It's the school's fault for not preparing decent meals for lunch." His mother actually showed up to her school and started yelling at her teacher. Though they were having their conversation in a separate room, we could hear everything clearly because Kamajio's mom was yelling at the top of her lungs. And as I was listening in on their conversation, I heard something unbelievable. "Lunch money? Do you actually think that I'm gonna pay you for serving that garbage to my son? My son will no longer be eating the lunch that you guys prepare. He's gonna bring his own lunch from now on." Apparently, his parents aren't even paying his lunch money. I thought they were rich, for God's sake. Refusing to eat the school's lunch was unprecedented, but it is apparently possible, but only if they signed the necessary documents. And just like that, Kamajio ended up eating lunch from an expensive-looking lunchbox that he brought every day. He stood out from the rest of us like a sore thumb, but that didn't seem to bother him one bit. Though I didn't expect for things to turn out like this. The lunch fiasco seemed like it was nearing its conclusion. But that was until a few months later when... Hey, have you noticed that Kamajio has been acting kinda off recently?
Oh, so you've noticed too?
Yeah, he hasn't been eating his homemade lunch lately.
He said he only eats 2 meals a day now, but...
I don't believe that for a second. He seems hungry at school all the time. It's just so funny that I've been having a hard time trying to laugh during class. Yeah, the girl sitting next to me burst out laughing during class.
And he even stopped bragging about how rich he is. And has he lost weight, or am I just imagining things?
Yeah, you're right.
You're the one that's into gossip. Have you not heard anything about this?
Well, yeah, of course.
Really? I said that just as a joke. I didn't think you actually know anything.
I heard this from my mom, but
Yeah?
apparently his dad's business isn't going too well.
What?
I don't know the details, but apparently he lost a lot of the money he invested.
Like, how much are we talking about?
Apparently a few $1,000,000.
I can't even comprehend how much that is.
But anyways, his family has gone broke overnight. Now they might have to sell their house. And they've been trying to spend as little as they can on food.
I didn't know things were that bad for him. Then he should just eat the school's lunch.
No way he'd ever do that. He can't just pretend like he didn't say all those things about her lunch and go back to eating it.
Yeah, you're right. Just as Sayori had described, Kamajio has not been himself lately. Things were getting so bad that it was even starting to concern me, even though I wasn't close to him at all. Although what Sayori said is just a rumor, I don't think she's too far off from the truth. When our teacher noticed that something was wrong with Kamajio, he suggested,
Hey, why don't you just eat the school's lunch? You look pale. That's funny. Everything is fine.
He seemed worried, but Kamajio didn't budge. His ego didn't let him. And when I walked by Kamajio's house the other day, oh crap, it's on sale! I didn't think it'd get to this. Their multi-million-dollar mansion was being put up for sale. And a couple of days later, during PE, Kamajio passed out.
Yo, you alright?
Kamajio fainted during class. I mean, anyone could have seen this coming. He was exercising without having ate a proper meal in weeks. Fortunately, it was nothing serious. After he took a nap in the nurse's office, he woke up just fine. But little did we know, this incident would be the catalyst for something much worse. What do you think you're doing? You made my son exercise without feeding him properly? You better pay for his medical bill, and I expect you to compensate him for this as well. It was his mother again. She had shown up at our school once again to blame his teachers for what had happened. I tried listening in on their conversation, and this is what I heard.
But you were the one that told us that your son wouldn't eat the school's lunch anymore. You even signed the document.
Yes, but that doesn't mean... There was no way his mother could argue against that. Besides, she had no right to complain about what had happened to him in the first place. But our teacher wasn't done.
If you want us to feed your son, you have to pay lunch money.
No way! I already told you. There is no way I'm paying you to serve my son that garbage. She was still unwilling to own up to her mistakes. Like mother, like son, I guess.
Then you still need to prepare his lunch every day.
So you're discriminating against my son? Her complaints were illogical and nonsensical. I feel bad for her teacher for having to deal with her. But he didn't give in.
If you can't pay for it, there are measures in place that exempts you from paying the lunch money.
Who said I can't pay? I just don't want to. I swear we can pay for it. And just like that, the argument had no end in sight. Apparently, their financial situation is more dire than I had imagined. Their conversation ended up going nowhere, and so after a while, Kamajio's mother left the room. Rumors of what was going on with Kamajio's family spread like wildfire, and naturally, he became the target of all eyes around the school. And just like that, Kamajio was labeled as the fallen prince and became the laughingstock of the school. But the other day,
Sir, please, let me eat lunch. I haven't had anything since yesterday.
Kamajio finally admitted that he was starving and pleaded our teacher for food. Our teacher probably felt bad and put the whole lunch money argument aside for a minute and served him lunch. But once the food arrived at his table, Kamajio started devouring all of it with his hands. It was just so sad to see him like that. But that didn't change the fact that everyone made fun of him, and by the end of the year, he had stopped showing up to school. Apparently, his mother now works part-time at the local supermarket. It's obvious she doesn't like the job, but anything to meet ends meet, I guess.